Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It is a pleasure to rise and speak on the food bill. This is an important piece of legislation. It's also a very substantial piece for people listening to this debate. It's one of the biggest bills I've ever seen. But it is important work. It has taken a long time to get to this point. Labor is supporting this bill, and basically it makes substantial reforms to the regulatory regime for the safety and suitability of food, and will eventually fully replace the Food Act 1981 and the food hygiene regulations. And I'm speaking on this bill for two reasons, really. First of all, because of the importance of the food industry for our country, and I think everybody in this House would recognise just how important the food and beverage sector is for our country, and how important it is that we get it right in terms of making sure that there is confidence that the food produced in this country is safe. We've seen what happens very recently when that is threatened in any way, and our livelihood as a country is entirely, or very substantially anyway, dependent on the success of this sector. And certainly I think that there is a lot more we need to be doing, and I would make the point that in terms of our economic development, there is a lot more that we could be doing with the food and beverage sector to ensure that we create more value-added products, that we create better jobs that are better paid in the food sector. But this government, of course, seems to be completely blind to the idea of looking at its economic development, looking at strategies that do create good and sustainable manufacturing and processing work in this country. But that's possibly another story for another day. But it is really important to our country to get it right. And of course, as Consumer Affairs spokesperson, I also want to say that this bill is important because consumers want to have confidence that the food that they eat is safe, that it's not going to cause them have risks for their health. And of course, you know, it is pretty fundamental. What you eat is a very important thing. And so from that point of view as well, this bill is important. Now, I do want to say that the missed opportunity is one that my very good colleague Damien has picked up, and that is that we need to add into this country of origin labelling, because there is a real missed opportunity here, and we know that New Zealand consumers are increasingly wanting to see that information, and you can see already in our supermarkets that in the produce area in particular, there is already voluntary country of origin labelling of produce, and I know that many people do effectively choose to buy produce that has been grown in this country. And I think from a New Zealand point of view, that is important. We want to support our producers. We want to be confident. And the thing about the New Zealand industry, as anybody who's studied it at all or been involved in it will know, is that we do have very high standards. We need to maintain those standards. But consumers can be confident about New Zealand food generally, and that is why many New Zealanders, apart from wanting to support local producers, want to buy New Zealand food. And you know, the hoops that we have to jump through as a country in exporting our food mean that we have got high standards. And certainly when I was on a task force, the Food and Beverage Task Force, we looked at the degree of traceability, for example, that was expected of New Zealand food. And Japanese consumers in particular was the example I can recall looking at, where they wanted to know about traceability of the lamb that they were purchasing in their supermarkets. So, but country of origin labelling, I'm very glad to see Damien O'Connor has got a supplementary order paper on this issue. And it will amend the bill to require the responsible minister to adopt Food Standard 1.2.11 of the Australian-New Zealand Food Standards Code, which would introduce mandatory country of origin labelling for some foods manufactured or prepared for sale or sold in New Zealand or imported into New Zealand. And I do hope that members opposite will take this opportunity to listen to what consumers want and to support that supplementary order paper and ensure that we do have country of origin labelling. Thank you.
Jami-Lee Ross.
I commend this bill to the House.
Question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary no. The ayes have it.
Food Bill, second reading.
This bill is set down for committee stage next sitting day. We call now on Government Order of the Day number 2.
Heritage New Zealand, Pōhere Taonga Bill, third reading.
Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Chris Finlayson.
Mr. Speaker, I move that